We left Custer's Gulch RV Park and headed northwest to Mountain View Campground, about 89 miles to the town of Sundance. One of the reasons we took this route from Texas was to see the Devil's Tower. I must confess, I have been a long time fan of the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I wanted to physically put myself at a place that I enjoyed seeing in the movies as it holds so much mystery. We arrived at our campsite, a small mom and pop owned campground. We were directed to our campsite only a few sites away from the main office, country store, and laundry, but the pool was closed. A well maintained park, but the sites are very close to each other, nothing like Custer's Gulch, where we had just left. At our Texas campsites, we are accustomed to having bigger sites with brush that separates us from our neighbors. But this one, well, it was close. Our camping chairs basically sat on the sewer drop of our neighbor's RV, and we were a mere few feet away from our front door. Regardless, our intention was to be here for a 6 to 8 day stay and would make the best of our situation. The following day, after our arrival, we made plans to go and visit Devil's Tower. So we got our stuff together and drove out to the National Monument. We are used to flat spaces in Texas, but not as green and lush as it was here in Wyoming. It was beautiful. The long, narrow stretches of road greeted us with green pastures filled with cattle and horses. One of our stops along the day's trip was Salt Creek Overlook. It was beautiful. The Black Hills, named after the dark green carpet of pine that cover the hills, are a geological wonder, covering some 125 miles north to south and 65 miles east to west. The hills rise 3,000 to 4,000 feet above the Red Valley floor. History, geology, and wildlife are alive and well in Salt Creek Valley. The Sioux believe the Great Spirits live in the hills. Pioneers came here to mine the coal and oil. Small towns like nearby Cambria sprang up as fast as they were deserted. Tales of gunfights, stage robberies, and gambling are kept alive by those who never left. The moment we rounded the corner and caught our first view of Devil's Tower, I was taken back by the sheer volume of stone protruding from the ground, like no other landscape feature in the area. We stopped at a roadside rest stop along our drive and took a few pictures along with Mingo, our mascot. The geology, nature, and history of the area that we are in is full of wonders, but even the science was not completely sure how this massive land feature was created. It was difficult to find parking to accommodate our vehicle size. We made a few passes and eventually snagged a parking space as someone was backing out. We squeezed ourselves in and let out a deep sigh. We had finally arrived and would have the opportunity to walk around and discover this area. As we walked around this massive rock structure, we saw many prayer cloths hanging from trees. The views around the hike was extraordinarily beautiful, and we got some beautiful pictures. Devil's Tower has long been a prominent landmark in northeastern Wyoming. The origins of the Mammoth Rock remain somewhat obscure. Geologists agree that the Devil's Tower consists of molten rock, forced upwards from the deep within the earth. Debate continues, however, as to whether Devil's Tower is solidified lava from the neck of an ancient volcano, the walls of which eroded long ago, or whether it is a sheet of molten rock which was injected between rock layers. The characteristic fertile columns are apparently the result of uniformly arranged cracks which appeared during the cooling of the volcanic magma. Geological estimates have placed the age of Devil's Tower at greater than 50 million years, although it is likely that erosion uncovered the rock formation only 1 or 2 million years ago. The unique geological attributes of the Devil's Tower stimulated several early preservation efforts. In 1892, Wyoming Senator Francis E. Warren persuaded the General Land Office to create a timber reserve which surrounded the tower. Senator Warren also launched an unsuccessful effort to declare the entire area a national park. In 1906, Congress passed an Antiquities Act which empowered the President to bestow national monument status upon federally owned lands that contain historical landmarks, historic or prehistoric structures, and other significant history or scientific objects. President Theodore Roosevelt quickly invoked the Antiquities Act, designating Devil's Tower the nation's first national monument in 1906. The National Park Service was created in 1916 and eventually assumed administrative control of all national monuments. At a point in the hike, there was a pipe you could look through, pointed at an old ladder that was used to scale the cliff. I had a difficult time finding it, as we did not bring binoculars, but I did have a 200mm lens on my camera that I used to take a few shots. Just a few hundred feet away from the ladder, I could see some climbers that had wedged themselves into the crevices of the rocks, which was cool to see, but difficult to see with the naked eye. We continued around the trail and took many more pictures, and then near the end of the trail where we came in, I found some more climbers that were scaling the cliffs. Very interesting, but not something I would do, but admired those that could and did. After completing the loop, we spent a bit of time in the gift shop, found a walking stick medallion for our collection, and enjoyed the displays explaining the area. As we drove towards the exit, we saw that they had a picnic area and campgrounds, so we checked it out. We figured we could probably camp here if we had good batteries and solar panels. We could do a 7 to 8 day stretch. That is about our average that we can successfully manage our water and waste tanks. Just before you enter the campground, there is a picnic area and a stone sculpture dedicated to the tribes that considered the tower a sacred place. The Circle of Sacred Smoke was created by Japanese artist Junkyu Muto in 2008. It is one of the 3 sculptures of Muto's International Peace Project. Muto's sculptures are at spiritually significant places around the world. They are also found in Vatican City, Rome, and Bodh Gaya, India, where the Buddha reached enlightenment. The stone used in the sculpture and black granite base came from Italy's Frantischiti quarry, the source of Michelangelo's marble. The sculpture's stone base came from the Crazy Horse Memorial in the Black Hills of South Dakota. Over 20 tribes considered the tower to be a sacred place. This was the location where White Buffalo Calf Woman delivered the first sacred pipe to the Lakota people. The Circle of Sacred Smoke represents the puff of smoke from a ceremonial pipe used by the Native American people. After a long day of discovery, we returned to our campsite. We decided that we would try to relocate to a different area with better site configuration. The park agreed to refund us the remaining days left on our reservation, so we booked the site at Keyhole State Park. We got lucky. Before we left for our next site, we spent the following 2 days booking sites up to Pismo Beach, California, to give the California family a chance to schedule around our trip. We got some more laundry done and left the following day to Keyhole State Park. We arrived at Keyhole State Park and found the site we had reserved was on the side of a hill, where part of the road had washed out. But once we got parked, it was not an issue. The space was great, with no close neighbors. There was an empty space behind us, and the following day a family with loud dogs moved in. But the amount of space and beauty we had acquired, we just dealt with it. We decided we wanted a kayak, but it required that we have our kayaks inspected for invasive species. We called the 1-800 number, but it still took us several hours to find a location to have them inspected, especially over the weekend. We purchased our license that was mailed to our home in Texas, but we could use the copy of the forms provided to prove we had them inspected and licensed. Finally, on the water. A beautiful calm day allowed us to navigate the lake at will and discovered new rock formations and flowers. We even came upon some deer that had been walking along the lake shore. We did get back on the water once more, heading down further along the shore, but the day turned windy very quickly, and our paddle back was very frustrating. You see, paddling against the wind, all you have is arm strength, and at times you can feel like you're making no progress at all. I couldn't even take any pictures on my way back. If I stop paddling, I will be blown back further and losing my momentum. Laura wanted to abandon the kayaks on the shore and come back later and pick them up with the truck. I did not feel comfortable leaving them, as anyone can find them and paddle off. Besides, the walk was much more difficult hauling kayaks on the ground than sticking with it. Finally, about a mile of paddling against the wind, we had made it back to our campsite. It is our luck, anywhere we have been, and any direction we choose to go in, eventually we will paddle against the wind. We had gone as far as starting off paddling against the wind, knowing that we will have an easier way back. But the wind will change directions on us and leave us in a predicament that we are now paddling against the wind in both directions. That is very tiring and defeating. We did walk through some of the camping loops. Most of them are water only. The one we got was water and electricity. So in those areas that it was water only, there were many generators running. But actually, because of the space between them, it was really not that bad. If you're running your air conditioner, you probably never hear the generators anyway. There is a marina and a store within the campgrounds. The store has a grill where we decided we would spend our 4th of July having a nice burger, sitting on the deck enjoying the sun and the beauty of our surroundings. Until our next stop, this is Russ and Laura from Flamingo Moon Campers. Hope you enjoy this video. Hey, if you like this video, give us a thumbs up. If you want to see more, subscribe.